Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the heart of fascinating ideas. Today, we're exploring something, well, it's almost hard to believe. Imagine someone dedicating their entire life to recording everything broadcast on television. And I don't just mean, the big news highlights. I mean everything. Every commercial, every debate, uh, every fleeting snippet of pop culture, minute by minute, for decades. Yeah, this isn't fiction. It's the incredible story of Marion Stokes and her just monumental archive. We're diving deep into what's been called Marion Stokes Archive, Mirror of American Memory. And we're specifically drawing insights today from a recent LoopSpeak Intellectual Town Hall. The title was The Power of the Archive, Marion Stokes, and the Memory of Society. LoopSpeak, if you don't know it, is this forum known for really robust, multi-perspective debates, and this discussion on Stokes was, well, pretty illuminating. So our mission today, let's try to unpack the significance of this archive, what it reveals about American society, and, crucially, why it's maybe more relevant now than ever in our, super digital age. As one person at the town hall put it really vividly, I thought, we're not just talking about tapes, we're talking about a mirror of America's soul, frame by frame.
That quote really does get to the heart of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's truly remarkable, I think, is how her singular mission, this just relentless drive, created this completely unparalleled historical resource.
Yeah.
It forces us really to look back at history, not as like a neat set of curated facts, but as this living, breathing narrative that unfolded in front of millions. You're not getting a cleaned up retrospective.
Right, you're getting it as it happens.
Exactly. The real-time experience of how events, culture, society itself, how it was all prevented. So today, we're going to navigate 4 core angles that came out of that town hall discussion. We'll start with how her archive captured history in real time. Then we'll move to how it functions as a society's self-portrait, think about why it's so important today, why it matters today, and finally look at how society benefits.
Yeah.
And we'll even touch on the sort of pro and con arguments that came up in the debate about archives like this.
Okay, let's unpack that first one then. History in real time. Marion Stokes recorded everything for decades. News, ads, debates. It's almost incomprehensible the amount of material. So when the town hall talks about capturing history in real time, what does that really mean in this context? Why is that raw, unfiltered view so critical?
Well, the key distinction lies in the immediacy. Stokes' archive doesn't just show what happened. Critically, it shows how it was packaged, how it was sold, really, to the public, right as it was happening.
Yeah.
So if you think bigger picture, it means we're not just getting the, let's say, official version or the carefully selected highlights that usually end up in textbooks or, documentaries made years later.
Okay.
Instead, we see the narrative unfolding, minute by minute, just like people experienced it then. It's not just history. It's a deep dive into the immediate framing. The choice of words, the camera angles, the specific takes, all the stuff that subtly but really powerfully shaped how people understood events, shaped their core beliefs, maybe even before they realized it. It's insight into perception itself.
Wow. So it's the lens itself, not just the picture seen through it. That's a powerful idea. It really does feel like getting behind the scenes of history, seeing the raw feed before the editors got to it, and that kind of unvarnished perspective. It leads us straight to the town hall's next point, doesn't it? How Stokes' collection is a societal self-portrait. Because if history is the narrative, then society is the everyday reality of the people living it. What kind of raw, unpolished glimpse did these tapes actually offer? What did they reveal about us?
No, it's absolutely unvarnished. The sources say the tapes show what Americans were worried about, entertained by, and divided over. Just the full spectrum of the national conversation day after day. We're talking about seeing the actual language people used on TV, the stereotypes that were common then, evolving social norms, the power dynamics playing out right there on screen, unedited, across decades.
Right.
It gives you this authentic picture of the culture, not a polished one, as the source says. And that's invaluable. Think of it less like a history book written now, looking back, and more like an organic, living snapshot of the national psyche, frame by frame, just as it was. It's probably the closest thing we have to a real cultural time machine.
A cultural time machine. Yeah, like a totally unfiltered one. Seeing the unedited truth of what was on people's minds, what they were watching every single day. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. In our age, we often try to, refine or contextualize old stuff for today's audiences. So how does this really unpolished view actually help us more than a carefully curated or edited historical account? What's the value in that rawness, especially if it shows ideas or biases we find uncomfortable now?
That is a critical question. And I think the value of that unpolished view is precisely its unflinching authenticity.
Yeah.
A curated account, almost by definition, smooths things over. It might remove inconvenient details, prioritize certain stories, sometimes without even meaning to.
Right, selection bias.
Exactly. Stokes' raw footage keeps all the messiness, the contradictions, the forgotten worries, the unfiltered vibe of the moment. And yes, it might absolutely contain ideas or biases we now see as outdated or wrong. But that very fact is a crucial part of the historical record. It lets us understand social evolution more fully, more nuancedly, how biases were maybe perpetuated through media, how public opinion was actually shaped back then, not through a story we construct now with hindsight, which has its own biases, right? But seeing it as it was. It's not about endorsing it, it's about understanding its reality.
That makes perfect sense. It lets us analyze the how and the why things were seen that way, not just the what. Okay, shifting gears a bit. In our world today, with deleted tweets, edited headlines, AI rewrites, content feels so ephemeral, temporary. So what does this physical archive, these VHS tapes from decades ago, what does it teach us about today's digital world? Why is Stokes' work particularly relevant now when our collective memory seems to live in the cloud?
That's a critical point that came up. Stokes's physical tapes, they stand as this tangible, unchangeable proof of how narratives can shift and how easily information can be, well, fragile or manipulated. Think about it. In our era, digital content is often ephemeral, right? It's easily edited. It can disappear entirely. A viral tweet, deleted. A news article, silently updated. An entire social media platform could vanish tomorrow, taking huge chunks of our collective digital memory with it.
Yeah, that's scary when you put it like that.
It is, and her archive just highlights that stark contrast. It really underscores the fragility of digital memory compared to the permanent physical record she created. It forces us to ask, critically, who controls the media we consume, and how much of that stuff gets lost or altered over time? Her work is like this visceral lesson in the need for preserving unfiltered records, especially when digital info is so fluid, so easy to change or erase.
So, if Stokes' physical tapes make our digital world seem so fragile, what's the biggest lesson we should take away? For how we consume our daily news or information feeds, what questions should we be asking ourselves, seeing her example?
I think the most profound lesson is about media literacy, really, in its deepest sense. It's understanding that everything we consume is framed, and that the frame itself isn't guaranteed to stick around. We should be asking, is this information still in its original form? Could something have been changed or taken out? Who benefits from this version of the story being presented this way? And maybe who benefits if it disappears? Stokes's archive, in a way, empowers us to be skeptical, to demand original sources when we can, to recognize that our collective memory isn't just there, it's something constructed, and it requires active, conscious preservation. It's about making the consumer a more active participant in understanding reality.
That is an incredibly powerful call to action for anyone using the internet today, basically. So, okay, who is using this incredible resource now? It sounds like it could be valuable for so many different fields. How does society actually benefit from this kind of massive archiving effort?
Oh, absolutely. It's an unparalleled goldmine, and for really diverse uses, far beyond just historical curiosity. The Swingers has highlighted several key groups and how they're using it in quite sophisticated ways. First, you've got researchers. I mean, imagine having decades of raw media. They can meticulously analyze media spin on politics, race, gender, the economy, tracking shifts over time, both subtle and obvious.
Yeah, it must be incredible for them.
It's not just what happened, but how it was presented. They can study propaganda techniques, social change dynamics, systemic bias as it unfolded in real-time media. It's this amazing data set for understanding societal evolution and media influence without that retrospective bias we talked about. Then second, you have entrepreneurs and creators. This group finds fascinating insights into how industries like sports broadcasting, publishing, advertising built their systems and evolved.
How so? Like watching old ads.
Exactly. Watching old commercials, you can see how marketing messages changed, how they targeted consumer psychology, how whole communication strategies developed. It gives this unique historical context for understanding market strategies, consumer behavior, even techniques still used today. And third, maybe surprisingly, even ordinary people. You, the listener, can use it, as the source says, to understand how your own beliefs were shaped by what you saw on TV.
Interesting.
It offers this really personal connection to history. You can trace media influences from your own formative years, see the cultural currents that shaped your upbringing, maybe even challenge or understand the roots of your own perspectives.
Wow, that's incredibly far-reaching. It really touches everyone, academics, business folks, and just individuals curious about their own past and how it was framed. But for ordinary people, like you said, navigating something that vast, that uncurated, it might feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack, right?
Yeah.
How does it actually become accessible and useful for them without like professional guidance? Which brings us to that LoopSpeak Town Hall debate about archives themselves. What were the main pro and con arguments that surfaced there?
You've definitely hit on a critical point, accessibility. The pro-side argument, which was put very forcefully at the town hall, basically asserts that archives like Stokes are vital because they protect truth. Simple as that. By preserving unedited contemporaneous records, they safeguard against that insidious loss or deliberate manipulation of history we were just discussing with digital media. This view argues they're an essential defense against revisionism, ensuring there's always an original, verifiable account. Indispensable for democracy, really.
Okay, the truth guardians. Makes sense.
But the con-side argument suggested that while these archives are incredibly rich, they can also become overwhelming noise without guidance.
Noise without guidance.
Yeah. This perspective warns that without proper curation or sophisticated search tools or some kind of framework for interpretation, the sheer volume of unfiltered information might just be too immense. It can be almost impossible for anyone, especially the ordinary person you mentioned, to navigate effectively or pull out meaningful insights. The concern is that crucial insights might just stay buried in the sheer volume, making the archive less useful than its potential suggests, unless huge resources go into making it intelligible.
So it's that classic dilemma then. Immense potential for knowledge, for truth, but also this huge challenge of actually making sense of it all. It really highlights that archiving is only half the battle, isn't it? Accessing, interpreting, structuring that information. That's just as critical. We've covered a lot. Marion Stokes' incredible lifelong dedication, the raw insight her archive gives us into history in real time, and as that society's self-portrait and its critical relevance in today's, well, often fleeting digital age. It really is a profound snapshot of American memory.
Yeah, and the LoopSpeak Town Hall, they wrapped up with this question that really sticks with you. I think it's the perfect thought to leave our listeners with because it challenges all of us who consume information. The question they posed was this.
Marion Stokes didn't just save tapes. She saved memory. The question is, are we ready to use it?
That question just resonates, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It pushes us all to think about our collective responsibility. Engaging with these vast historical resources, interpreting them, using them for deeper understanding, for critical analysis, and maybe to safeguard our collective memory against those narrative shifts and the sort of transient nature of modern content. So, after this whole deep dive, what's the one thing that really stands out to you?
Pause. For me, I think it's just how much we don't necessarily see in our daily consumption. The framing, the impermanence, the subtle shifts over time. Stokes didn't just save tapes. It feels like she handed us a critical lens, a lens for everything we watch, read, and believe. And it's a pretty profound responsibility, actually, to use it wisely. Thank you for helping us unravel all this.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating topic.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and maybe keep asking yourselves how you engaged with the memory of our world.